Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. Even though we're still like lovely summer mood, I thought it'd be important to make a video about different resources if you're planning to attend university and college in September, especially if you have a disability and need to know different resources and different grants, bursaries, programs for if you need attendant care, and just generally where to go, like what department specifically is meant for students with disabilities at universities and colleges. We're going to delve right into it because it is such an important topic. For instance, when I was 16, I started on a recruiter for a university in my high school, and I asked them about what type of resources they have for students with disabilities. This was like 2004, and the recruiter didn't even know if there was a department for students with disabilities. That's how oblivious it was back then. And so I knew if I wanted to go to school, I was going to be the one that had to do the research, that had to do the prep work, that had to set everything up. And I started when I was 16, knowing that I would graduate at 18 and move on to my university career then. And so it is a process that can be long, can be daunting. Thankfully, it's gotten better since I was a kid, but it's still a lot of work and it's still a lot of things to navigate. And so that's why I wanted to make this video to give a step-by-step guide on how to deal with all of it. Student Accessibility Services. So the Accessibility Services Department is the department that is meant to help students with disabilities. And that is all disabilities, whether it's physical, cognitive, learning, or mental health. That is a department that is meant to provide you accommodations, figure out sort of all the things that you may need like on campus and in residency, and generally just help you like get the tools that you need so that you can graduate and finish the program. A lot of them will link you up to a different counselor that's like individual to you that you can go to for resources and to get updates on accommodations and things like that. Many of these schools require documentation. You can't just like register and be like, I identify with a disability. Most of them will need documentation from a medical professional that says that you have this disability or that disability. But one thing that I will say though, it doesn't have to be a permanent disability. There are many people that I've known over the years that have had what they consider a short-term disability, whether it's like if you have like a broken leg or you got a concussion, something that is like a short-term ailment or a short-term limitation, they can also help you with that while you are affected by that condition. One thing that I really love that is a new phenomenon, I think it happened in like the last 10 years, so way after I started my education career, is a lot of universities and colleges are now doing these like transition programs for students with disabilities who are leaving high school and going to post-secondary education. And what these programs are is that you spend maybe a couple of days or in some cases even a week on campus, and you go to like all these different events where you get to see what it's like to live on campus, go around the campus, access different classrooms, and really get the feel of like whether or not this school is the best fit for you. I highly recommend if you have a school that you have in mind to see if they have a transition program. Once you do figure out the school and you do register, you have to, there's going to be the true T, you have to advocate for yourself on the type of accommodations that you need. They're not going to be like, oh, we'll give you this and we'll give you that. Some schools might, but from my experiences and from that of my peers, sometimes schools are like, well, what do you need? Because there's not really a sit down plan with like your teachers and your parents and your medical professionals that you have when you're in like, let's say, public school. They usually have a individualized education plan where everyone comes together and says what this child will need. That doesn't happen at university and college. In those institutions, you have to advocate for yourself to say, I need longer exam times, I need to have an extension on assignments, I need this, I need that, because sometimes they just don't volunteer the information and they don't volunteer the resources. And also another thing is that because you're generally 18 when you go to university and college, you may or may not be allowed to have your parents be in the room when you are hashing out these accommodations because you're legally an adult. And before that, you were legally a child, and so the parents could help you in high school and help you in elementary school. But it's a different ballgame when you go to university and college. So you really have to advocate for yourself. And if you're a parent that's watching this video, you have to teach your child how to advocate for themselves, because it definitely transitions when they turn 18 and they try and kind of push you out as much as possible. We are now going to highlight 2 universities and 2 colleges that have attendant care programs on campus. Carleton University and Algonquin College. Algonquin College and Carleton University have their own attendant care program for their students. It is managed through Carleton University, but it's for both schools. And Algonquin College has it for 8 months out of the year, so the majority of like the regular school year, whereas Carleton University has it for the full 12 months. And it is a program essentially meant to give students that go to school independence by helping them with everything from laundry, meal prep, getting up in the morning, things like that. And it's great because you have the flexibility. You can either do a pre-scheduled visit for like certain things that you need, or you can call the program's cell phone, which is open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and you just call up and say, hey, I need help with this, hey, I need help with that, and they will be there within, I think, 5 to 10 minutes of the phone call. And the program is also really great because they actually use the input of students with disability when recruiting more staff to be attendants. So you have a seat at the table, as you will, and you're not just like seen as a service user, but you are seen as also part of the team and part of specifically the management team. York University and Seneca College. So Seneca College and York University have their own attendant care program. It's managed through March of Dimes, and so it is a free program. It is paid through by the ministry, but it is unfortunately only for people who either live or have classes on 4700 Keel Street. So there's not that much flexibility when it comes to that, but it is meant for people with a physical disability. And again, they help you with things like laundry, meal prep, things like that. And so it is like really helpful. If you are a student at York University and you do need additional support, they also have partnered up with March of Dimes to provide supportive housing, which is basically a housing system where there are PSWs on site 24/7 to help you with your needs. Unfortunately, unlike their attendant care program, the supportive housing is fee-based. So if you do need additional resources, but you have the additional funding, then this is something that I suggest you look into. Canada Student Grant for Services and Equipment, Students with Disabilities. So this program, even though it's a federal program, is actually administered through your provincial government and provincial body that helps with student aid. And it's something that is meant to pay for services and equipment, as the title says. So if you like need certain equipment for schooling, that would be a good resource to use. It is $20,000 a year of funding, and so I think it'd be really perfect. I think I've used it in the past to pay for like commodes and other devices to live on campus, so it's a really good thing to have. There is a long list of criteria that you have to meet. Some of them are like demonstrating financial need, be enrolled in a school that's recognized by your provincial government, so it can't be just any university and college. It has to be one that is recognized by the institution. Canada Student Grant for Students with Disabilities. Now, this is a service and a grant that I've used like my entire academic career. And I love it because it's not something where you have to show receipts, you have to say that you're using money for this or you're using money for that. For me, every time I applied to OSAP, all I had to do was check that box that said, yes, you have a disability, and the grant was like directly applied to the money that you were getting. And for the most recent year, the amount was $2,800 per year, which is huge. If you don't need that much money for OSAP support, then you can truly like not have to worry about student loans and having to pay something back because this is a grant. The only time for me and for a lot of people you have to prove your disability is when you are initially registered with OSAP, when you're starting off your academic career, that you show documentation that you have a permanent disability. If you have a permanent disability, you just have to show it once, and then they keep track of it, and then they just give you the option to press that button, and the grant is applied to your account. And even if you qualify for like $1 worth of OSAP funding, because majority of people are eligible for OSAP. There's some people who are not, but majority population are. All you have to be eligible for is $1, and then you have to have permanent disability, and then you get this grant. Ontario out-of-country bursary for students who are deaf or hard of hearing. This bursary is obviously meant for students who are deaf or hard of hearing, but it's excellent because it really does help with a lot of the cost of going to post-secondary education. Like, this program can help cover things like tuition fees and like books and like things that are associated with your schooling, and also even travel from your schooling back home to Ontario. And so one of the things you have to do is be an Ontario resident, but going to school outside of Canada. And another huge criteria is that you have to go to a school where the main instructions are done through American Sign Language or its equivalent. So it is very specific, but if you do qualify, please check it out. They don't state how much of the money they give you, but they do state all the things that you can ask to be funded for or reimbursed for. Bursaries for students with disabilities and Canada Student Grant for services and equipment. So earlier we mentioned the Canada Student Grant for services and equipment. So this is the portal on how you apply for it if you are a student going to school in OSAP and a resident of Ontario, which is like you apply through the OSAP program. And they've actually, for some reason, put this program along with a bursary for student disabilities. Now, these are two different funding sources, but ironically the same application. And a lot of them, like both programs, pay for two different things. There's a couple things where they overlap, but they generally pay for two different services. So it's like whether or not you need something like a laptop, or if you need tutoring, or if you need this or that, you have to look at the application and figure out which one you're applying for. As I mentioned before, the grant is $20,000, but the bursary is actually only $2,000. So obviously there's a huge discrepancy. And my suggestion, if you need resources, to try and use the bursary first, and then if you need additional resources, then tap into the grant, because they're both like a yearly funding program. And so, but it's great if you need things like transportation to school, if you need, as I said, laptops, if you need counseling, if you need coaching, if you need tutoring, if you need note-taking. Like, this is a program, it really helps pay for a lot of services. Disability Awards. So the Disability Awards website is run by the National Education Association of Disabled Students, and basically it's a huge database of all the scholarships, bursaries, grants, awards, you name it, that are provided for students with disability in all of Canada. Not just Ontario, the entire country. And they break it down into a few different areas. So you can go through region, so if you're looking at specific schoolings, or you can go through it by condition. And it's not just awards within the schools, but it's actually awards and scholarships that are from different organizations that are like specific to certain conditions or specific to certain areas. Like I said before, like there's sometimes scholarships and bursaries with different clubs all throughout Canada and stuff. And so if you need to know about any type of scholarships, if you are going to post-secondary education, this is a database you have to look at, because they can save you thousands of dollars of student debt by tapping into like all the resources in Canada. And even the program itself, it's short for NEEDS, because of the National Education Association for Disabled Students. Their acronym is the word NEEDS. They actually even have their own scholarship that they do yearly, and you can get funding for everything for rent supplements, food, tuition, assistive devices, and more. So they even themselves provide funding, but more importantly, they give you information to get funding from a whole host of foundations, schools, and other resources. So do check it out. So I hope you liked this video. Please let me know in the comments if you use any of these programs. If you know anybody that would love to use some of these programs, I can give you maybe some details on the ones that I've used in the past and how they have helped me. and just like get stories about whether or not you think these programs have been helpful, or whether or not you want to see more. Do you want to see more from the government or from these institutions for providing resources for students with disabilities, or students even in general? Let me know your comments. Let me know your thoughts, and let's discuss about what you think can be improved or has already been improved for students with disability going to university and college. I'll see you in the next video. Bye. For information about all the programs discussed, please check out my website, Ontario Without Barriers, located in the description. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, please like, share, comment, and subscribe, and turn on notifications. Tune in next week where we will discuss other resources for adults with physical disabilities.